statement. This is when you balance your checkbook, is when you get your bank statement either in the mail or online. This is that we didn't have the starting balance, but the ending balance should be on there, and I didn't put it on there, and I apologize for that. It should be 641.13. Nope, sorry, I lied. Looking in the wrong place. 628.23. Okay. Now, we compare our records to the bank's records. Okay, if you remember this, we go through and the bank says we have a deposit of 35, so we find our deposit of 35, put a check mark on it because it's shown up on a statement. Deposit of 100, put a check mark on it. Check number 1770 for 158.08. 1770, 158.08. Always double check that your check numbers match the amounts. Okay. Check number 1768 for 46.50. 1768, 46.50. 1769, 74.64. 1769, 74.64. And 1765, 19.50. Okay. Now, these are cleared. The check marks are cleared. We have outstanding withdrawals, and we have an outstanding deposit. Okay. Add up all of your outstanding withdrawals. So anything that doesn't have a check mark, you add all that up and you get 112.10. And then you have your outstanding deposits. If there are more than one, you add those up. In this case, there's only one. Okay. And then you take your checking, the check statement ending balance. Hold on, let me write that down. You add outstanding deposits. You subtract outstanding withdrawals. And this gives you your revised balance. Okay, so our statement ending balance was 628.23. We're going to add our outstanding deposit. We're going to subtract our outstanding withdrawals. And that's going to give us our revised statement balance of 641.13. These need to match. Okay. If they don't match, either you forgot to put something in your check register, something has cleared that you forgot to check off, or there's been a calculation error somewhere by either you or the bank. So if these don't match, you know that you have to figure out where the mistake was. And you go back and you kind of, look everything over. You look the statement over, you look your checkbook register over, and see if you can find the error. Okay. If we say that the statement ending balance is A, and then the outstanding deposits is B, and then the outstanding withdrawals are C, The formula to balance your checkbook is A plus B minus C. And that should match the checkbook register. Okay, so with a savings account, the reason the bank pays you interest on a savings account is because what they're doing is if you put money in that account and it's a savings account, then the assumption is that you're trying to save money and you're not going to be taking that money out anytime soon. The bank therefore uses that money that you've put in your account as the basis for giving out loans, lines of credit, and things. So they're using your money to do their banking businesses. They pay you interest for the privilege to do that. Now, they don't pay you as much interest as they're charging the next guy, because then they wouldn't earn a profit. But that's why savings accounts often have, you can only have so many withdrawals. It's not unlimited withdrawals from your savings. You can only have a certain number of withdrawals from your savings. A lot of times they do require higher minimum balances and things like that because they want this money there to be doing their loans and things with. Interest is percentage. Now, I haven't looked lately, but the last time I looked, the highest savings account interest rate I could find was 1%. Let me just check. Okay, the interest rate is the percentage. Okay, so that bank I just looked up, Barclays, is 0.9%. Okay, the principal is the amount of money in the account. And these are deposits. Okay, and with simple interest, it's the calculations. Okay, if you have simple interest, the initial deposit that you make, deposits that you make, like if you deposit $1,000 into a bank account, don't touch it with the simple interest. The only thing the interest will ever be paid on is that $1,000 that you put in the account.
What if you deposit?
It's deposits, yeah. So like if I then deposit another $50, it'll be paid on that 1,000 and that 50, but not on any interest earned. So you are only earning interest on money you put in the account. You're not earning any interest on the actual balance in the account, if that makes sense.
And do you put money in?
Simple interest is simple because it's the easiest formula. It's I equals PRT, where I is the interest, P is your principal, R is your rate converted to a decimal, and T is the number of years. Okay, so time is always in years. It's time. Sure? Okay. Okay, so just like you can get a checking account statement, you get a savings account statement. Most of the time the banks put it on the same statement if they're mailing. It'll be checking comes first, and then at the bottom there'll be like a box that says savings information, because usually the savings information is very small. They don't want you taking money out, so you're not going to have a list of transactions. You're going to have your starting balance, interest earned, deposits made, ending balance. And then if you did have any withdrawals, they'll put that, but they don't list them. Generally, they don't list them itemized. They just say like total withdrawals and then tell you how much that was. Many banks require a minimum balance for a savings account. And again, that's because a savings account is the money that they're allowed to borrow from you to make their own money. And if you maintain the minimum balance, there's no fees. If you drop below the minimum balance, you have to pay fees. And then some banks charge you fees. They don't generally charge you fees unless you go below the minimum balance. Okay. Money market account is a kind of a savings. It's a high interest account. Higher initial deposits. And higher minimum balances. And then sometimes they'll have limits on the money market accounts that you can't touch the deposits for a certain length of time. Or they'll have really restricted amounts of transactions that can occur in a month. Things like that. So they are paying a higher interest rate, but they are restricting your access to your money a lot more. These CDs are not the CD that you used to buy and play in the car. These are certificate of deposits. And it's actually a certificate. Okay, so here's how a CD works. A CD is a certificate of deposit. It's like a certificate stating that you have X amount of dollars, so $1,000, deposited at certain banks or at a certain bank. It guarantees a payment of a fixed interest rate. So should the interest rates fluctuate and savings account interest like plummet, you'll still keep that set interest rate that you signed on with until the date of maturity. And maturity is the date when the CD can be cashed out. Now, you do get a higher interest rate on a CD, but you can't touch that money without high penalties before the date of maturity. So if you get a 5-year CD, you can't touch that money for 5 years without having to pay a lot in penalties, which is not really a good idea. There are short-term CDs, and there are long-term CDs. Okay. So Grace wants to deposit $5,000 in a certificate of deposit for 2 years. She is computing interest rates quoted by 3 local banks and an online bank. And we're going to write the interest rates in ascending order. So small to large. Okay. Bless you. So the first thing we want to do is we want to turn the fractions into decimals. So to do that, I do 1 divided by 4, which is 0.25. So this is 4.25%. Okay. And then 3/8. To turn that into a decimal, I do 3 divided by 8, which is, I want to say, not what I just thought of. 375. So this one is 4.375, and then I have 4.22 and 4.3. So in order, we have Johnson City Trust, First State Bank, Land Savings, and then eSave. eSave has the highest interest. And she should go with that amount. Now, if this were simple interest, we could figure out how much money she was going to earn on her $5,000 by using our simple interest formula. Okay. We can take our principal, which is $5,000, times our rate, which is 4.375%, so 0.04375, times our time of 2 years. So 5,000 times 0.04375 times 2. So in that 2 years, she's going to earn $437.50 in interest. Owl's savings account has to have at least $500 or he's charged a fee. His balance was $716.23 when he withdrew $225. So that's 11, so that's 9, and that's 8. So that's not 8, 6. So $491.23, but he gets charged a $4 fee. So his balance is $487.23. So here's his withdrawal. Here's his fee. Questions on that one? Okay. Mitchell deposits $1,200 into an account paying 4.5 simple interest. He keeps the money in the account for 3 years without any deposits or withdrawals. So we want to know how much is in the account at the end of 3 years. Our principal is the $1,200 that he deposits. Our rate is the 4.5%, which is 0.045. And our time is 3 years. Bless you guys. So 1,200 times 0.045 times 3. So $162 in interest. And we want to know how much is in the account after 3 years. So the balance is $1,362. This one's a little different. It says, how much simple interest does $2,000 earn in 7 months? T is years. So I have to figure out how many years is 7 months. So there are 12 months in a year. So I can either say 7/12 and use this fraction, or I can convert it to a decimal and do 7 divided by 12 and get 0.583 repeating. Okay. Okay, my principal is 2,000. My rate is 0.052 and my fraction is 7/12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2,000 times 0.052 times 7 divided by 12. Okay, so that was the process. So 2,000 times 0.052 times 7, and then divide your answer by 12.
Why do you multiply by 7?
Because you've got 7 months, and then you divide by 12 because it's 7/12. And when you have a fraction, the numerator is multiplication and the denominator is division. So I can multiply, it's like as if these all had ones under them, like invisible ones. So I can do 2,000 times 0.052 times 7, that's my new numerator. And then 1 times 1 times 12 is my new denominator. But you don't have to write those in.
3 instead of the 7/12?
I was asked to use the fraction. You could use 0.058 or 0.583 if you'd prefer. But I was asked to use the fraction, so I used the fraction. Okay, how much principal must it be deposited to earn $1,000 in interest in 2 years at a rate of 5%? So what we have is we have I, we have T, and we have R. We're missing P. So if I take our formula, I equals PRT, I is 1,000. I don't know what P is. My rate is 0.05 and time is 2. So I'm going to do 0.05 times 2. And I get 0.1. Divide both sides by 0.1. And principal is $10,000. So if you put $10,000 in a bank account for 2 years at 5% interest, it'll earn you $1,000. Derek has a bank account that pays 4.1%. That's my R. The balance is $910. When will the account grow to 1,000? Okay, so here's my principal. Okay, it's $910. My interest is equal to 1,000 minus $910 because we want to know when it'll grow to 1,000, so I have to find that difference. Does that make sense? So my interest is $90. What I don't know is T. So I want to find 90. I have 910 at 0.041 T. So 910 times 0.041, oops, would help if I put in the correct number. So I get 90 is equal to 3731 T. Divide both sides by 3731. And I get T is equal to 2.412 and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to say approximately 2.5 years. Okay. And we have Carrie investing $5,000. That's P. In a a simple interest account for 5 years. There's T. What interest rate? Oops. So I don't know what R is. Must the account pay? So there's 6,000 at the end of 5 years. So this is another one where I have to find out what the interest rate is. Or not the interest rate, sorry, the interest. So there's 5,000 now. We want 6,000, so we want $1,000 in interest. So if I come over here and I say I is equal to PRT, and my I is 1,000, my P is 5,000, my rate is unknown, and my time is 5 years. So I get 1,000 is equal to 25,000 R. Divide both sides by 25,000. And you get 0.04, so 4% interest. Things like that.